Sets back under center. Two tight ends set. Traquan Smith motions left to right. Taysom drops back. Looks to throw. Steps up. Delivers. Wide open. Traquan Smith. Touchdown, Saints. Nobody home. Traquan Smith from the left side of the end zone. And the New Orleans Saints score a touchdown here early.
You know, I'm going to say something, and I know this is blasphemous down there in the Bayou, but I'm beginning to think that the New Orleans Saints may be a more dangerous playoff team with Taysom Hill at quarterback than Drew Brees.
Here we go.
And
Spicy.
I know that sounds crazy based on what Drew Brees has accomplished in this league, but I'm looking at this team, and this team is difficult to defend with Taysom Hill. And I will say I am slow to get on the Taysom Hill bandwagon. But what I'm going to say is he had 232 passing yards. He had 83 rushing yards. I look at the Saints, they ran for over 200 rushing yards. And when you think about the most dangerous teams in the league, they're the ones that can change their styles in the middle of games. And I know Sean Payton is having a lot of fun with Taysom Hill, but at some point he may have to make a hard decision and say, maybe, just maybe, we should roll with Taysom Hill.
You know, it's an interesting question because clearly, you know, you go back to last season and Teddy Bridgewater jumps in and goes undefeated when Drew Brees was injured with that thumb issue. Now you come in and Taysom Hill, 3-0 as the Saints starter filling in for Drew Brees. And I get it's a different style that they're kind of playing, obviously, due to Taysom's skill set. But yeah, look, I think the numbers kind of make you wonder. You go, but in the end, if Drew Brees is healthy, I don't think there's any way that they can keep his command of what the Saints want to do. You know, his ability to move this offense efficiently. I just don't think that we're in a Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady situation right now, even though the interesting part of it is that Michael Thomas has had by far his best games with Taysom Hill at quarterback here, Deej.
Well, I'll just put a bow on that because you talk about should it be Drew Brees, should it be Taysom Hill? There's the old phrase, right? Best of both worlds, have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah,
they played with both of them. They've done that. They've done that. To me, I think what you could see is where we saw, you know, Taysom Hill being kind of a little sprinkled in, maybe it's a little bit more than that going forward. Maybe it becomes more of a 50-50 type split. But Drew Brees has already proven he can function when he's coming in and out of the lineup with Taysom Hill coming in. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe you end up with both those guys in the postseason. Not a bad option.
Let's see what they do here. You know the throwing. Do they go down the middle? Hurts is rolling. He's looking. He puts it in the air. Touchdown, Greg Ward. What a throw and what a catch.
What a great throw.
Will Jalen ease the pain is the question here for the Eagles. Look, Jalen Hurts with his most extensive playing time of his young career here against the Packers in the second half of this Eagles loss. Will his stint now at quarterback for Philly be an extended stay? Doug Peterson non-committal as of his news conference today with the assorted Philly, the assembled Philly media. And, you know, I get it. I get why they put him in the second half. Things were clearly not going well as they have for much of the season for both Carson Wentz and that entire offense with him at the helm. So they put Jalen Hurts in for a whole series and they keep him in from the second possession of the second half on. They end up punting on his first possession. They come back, and they're facing a 4th and 18 in Packers territory, and here comes the spark. He gets free from pressure on the run. Perfect ball to Greg Ward Jr. for his first career touchdown on a 4th and long. All right, so now you're starting to feel a little bit. Defense comes out. They make a stop on the Packers next time out, force a Packers punt. Jalen Reagor proceeds to return that punt for a touchdown, and you're like, oh, boy, here we go. It's like the Tua effect, right? Every other phase of the game starts stepping up once you put your rookie quarterback in there and kind of lifting the team's spirits collectively. But then the luster started to wear off. Another couple of punts. His final pass ends up being picked off. Aaron Jones has a 70-yard run to end things, and now we're kind of like back to where we started. Hurts finishes 5 of 12, over 100 yards, touchdown and a pick. You know, ends up being not a whole lot better than Wentz on the day. He did run and scramble for a couple of first downs. early in the second half as well. I don't know. So, like, I get why you would make the change here, right? I mean, like, what do you have to lose if you're Doug Peterson, if you're this offense with Jalen Hurts in there? I just don't know. Like, is Jalen Hurts that much better of a runner than Carson Wentz to where we think that that's really going to lift this offense? Or do we really feel like at this point in his career he has a better command and can make things happen in the passing game? I don't know. I get the feeling, right, that they must have to make the switch now. It's just I don't know. I don't know if it's really going to provide that long-term fuel for this team.
You know, Red, because I think this is a very difficult situation for Doug Peterson. Because I think when you're the head coach, what you try and do is you try and do everything possible to avoid having to pull the plug on the franchise quarterback. And so when I look at what the Eagles have done this year, he gave up play calling, let Press Taylor call some of the plays. They've changed some of the pieces around him on the perimeter with Alshon Jeffrey coming back, Jalen Reagor getting back into the lineup. So you're hoping maybe the upgrade in personnel would do something. You've changed the tempo. Hey, let's go no huddle. Let's put it in his hands. Let's run it up and down the field. And you still haven't got the results. At some point when you're Doug Peterson, you run the risk of losing your credibility in front of the rest of the locker room if you don't at least pull him out for a little bit. And I think this actually could be good for Carson Wentz in the short term because now you've been removed. It gives you a chance to refocus, recharge, reset, and then come back. I don't think this is a long-term deal. I think it's something that Doug Peterson had to do to kind of salvage his reputation in the locker room. But now he has to map out what's the best way for us to go forward. I think the best way is going to be put Carson Wentz back in the lineup and try and figure out if you can change some other stuff to get him going. But I think in that moment in Green Bay, he had to make the move. He didn't really have a choice.
All right, I think there's a lot of layers to this. So I'm going to take a minute here, just give you a couple different things. I want to get both your guys' thoughts on this feedback-wise. But I think with Carson Wentz, we got to look at a couple things here. I think there's been arguments about the past, right? I know Bucky and Rhett, I think we're all on the same page in that we give Carson Wentz a lot of credit for what happened, and not only in 2017, but the way he played over the last couple years with a lot of injuries around him. I think some people dismiss him and say Carson Wentz was never any good, but outside of a few games in 2017. I think that's silly. But we can debate that. That's debatable. We can debate about the future. Like, where do you go with the future with the Philadelphia Eagles at this position? Is it Carson Wentz? Is it Jalen Hurts? Maybe they need to go in another direction, bring in another guy. I think there's a debate there. What there's no debate about is the present. The present is not working. It's not. And you can't argue it. It just is what it is. And that can be for a whole host of issues with the offensive line issues, the lack of separation outside, some of the play calling, the system they're in. But regardless, you can't argue it's not working right now. So I am right now believe that the only reason that you would keep Carson Wentz in the lineup is to maybe protect a quarterback's confidence. But I don't think he's playing with any confidence. I don't think it can get any lower. So I don't think that's a risk. I think it is where it is. I'm going to use the rest of this season to play Jalen Hurts. You can evaluate Jalen Hurts. Maybe you end up at the end of this saying, you know what, he didn't have a chance either because of all these other issues we've been mentioning. And maybe that helps you as you go into the offseason to know, hey, this wasn't Carson Wentz's fault. And maybe Jalen Hurts gets out there and plays well, and there you go. But I think, to me, the decision it should be to let Jalen Hurts finish out this season. And, Rhett, I want to get to you on this one because I think you're probably a lot smarter than I am. Bucky, you are as well. But the sunk cost fallacy. You guys know about sunk cost fallacy because I looked up the definition of it.
Yeah.
Sunk cost fallacy describes our tendency to follow through on an endeavor if we have already invested time, effort, or money into it, whether or not the current costs outweigh the benefits.
Right.
So to me, Rhett, when I hear and it's out there, right? Look at the financial commitment you have to Carson Wentz. You have to stick with him. That money's gone. You've already spent that money. You've committed that money. Every decision should be about what gives you the best chance to win football games. That's how you should run a business, and that's how you should run a football team. So I've been a big Carson Wentz defender and a proponent over the years, but do not let the contract be the issue that keeps you from making your best decision. I don't know who that is, but I think to me that's something you have to keep in mind.
And I think you're spot on with your assessment of the past, the present, and the future as well. Clearly, the present isn't working. The only question is, like, do you really feel like it's in that at some point in the next 4 games that Carson can work his way out of this? I think if he could, we'd have seen it. we'd have seen it already in the first 11, the first 12 games for the Eagles. At this point, it doesn't feel like it's going to happen this season. Maybe it happens in the offseason. And then when you get to the sunk cost idea, if you somehow think if Jalen Hurts, proves to you something, or even if he doesn't prove enough, but it's enough to have some sort of competition, and let's say you're worried, right, that you're worried about the cost, or you're worried that Carson Wentz is not going to be amenable to some sort of competition or not being the unquestioned starter. I think you're right. I don't think it serves anybody's purposes to have this guy, no matter what you're paying him, actually back up somebody else next season. I think if that's at all a possibility, he's got to be gone, right? I just don't know that a guy like that can go from being the franchise $100 million quarterback to riding the pine because you have to eat the dead money cost. You're eating it anyway, right? So I think one way or another, we're going to find out a lot about the Eagles quarterback future in 2021 in these next 4 games.
Red, I think both you guys bring up great points, because the sunk cost fallacy is something that you definitely have to consider. And I think, DJ, when we talk about this, just from a coaching standpoint, if the coach always stands in front of the room and talks about, hey, guys, the best players play, it is hard to, week after week, stand in front of the team knowing that your quarterback isn't playing well. The other thing that I will say about this for Doug Peterson and that offensive staff, I think if you just look at what the Saints have been able to do with Taysom Hill, what the Buffalo Bills have been able to do with Josh Allen, I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is in that category. However, what I'm saying is sometimes when you have a new toy, it allows you to bring a different perspective. It forces you to play a way that might be the best way for your team to start carving out some wins. And we've talked about the Eagles' running attack and how they've been able to run the ball fairly well, but for whatever reason they haven't leaned into it. Maybe benching Carson Wentz leads them to run the football, and maybe that helps them play better because that's the way that they should have been playing the entire time.